Welcome to the Productivity Podcast. Today, delighted to be joined by Alex Kelly, who is the Group Programme Manager for Expediator. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Thank you, Simon. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. So we'll find out a bit more about you, and then we'll find out a bit more about Expediator, because with the greatest respect, it's one of those names that may be not familiar with lots of the listeners. So tell us a bit about yourself, Alex. We first met when you were at Wix, but I'm sure you did lots of stuff before that.
Yeah, sure. So, my background has predominantly been retail in nature. So I spent a good 10 years of my career working for Tesco's as a project and program manager, looking after the development of their multi-channel GM business. Just like you mentioned, I went to Wix and did a number of years there, helping them build a retail strategy, supported them in the development of a new format of store, before moving to Ocado, where I helped with the expansion of the UK business in terms of all the latest new automation fulfillment centres, and which has led me to where I'm now, which is at Expediator Group as a group program manager, supporting the company with its strategic plans and helping bring about change to help the business grow and expand.
So tell us a bit about Expediator. Say it's one of those hidden gems. I've had the pleasure of walking around a couple of the sites, and they're really impressive.
Yeah, sure. So Expediator, it's a large company. It's a business based both in the UK and Europe. It's an international freight management company, providing a combination of logistics and transport solutions. It's a business that has been growing rapidly, both through organic growth and acquisitions in recent years, really trying to exploit, I guess, what is a very large global demand right now for transportation services. So large business, and within the UK and Europe, it offers a mixture of services through three fundamental divisions. So it offers a freight forwarding service, i.e. supporting clients with the transportation of goods, both around UK, Europe and the world. It offers a logistics service, so the storage of goods both in the UK and Eastern Europe. And it also offers services in Eastern Europe for transport providers, in the form of fuel cards, etc., and all the kind of support services that go with transportation needs. So quite a diverse business, offering a multitude of logistics and freight forwarding services. And a business that's been growing rapidly and very successfully in recent years.
So there must be, because at the time of recording, we've kind of got hyperinflation, we've got rising wages, we've got supply chain shortages, we've got, unfortunately, a war that's kind of in the background and underpins a lot of this. What things are impacting the business at the moment? There must be so much going on in your space in terms of cost, people, labour. We all know how much petrol is, that it must be a really tricky environment to operate in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Simon. It's an industry that's been through a lot of change, especially in recent years. There's been a real shift in terms of how clients are working with us. So in particular, the whole piece around online growth versus traditional brick and mortar retailing. So we've seen a real shift towards online sales, which has changed the types of orders that we're now processing out of our logistics centres. Just like you were touching on, we've had a lot of things impact us in recent years. So the pandemic in particular has changed a lot about how the logistic model works. So what we've seen is a real shift from clients moving from just-in-time replenishment to more just-in-case, to ensure that they have good availability for their stock throughout the year. That has been quite a big impact to us, because what that's driven is a larger amount of stock inventory that we've had to sit on, in the potential of any unexpected increases in demand or supply issues. So there's been a real shift there that we've seen, that we've had to really work hard to adapt to and manage our space more effectively. And quite a number of other key impacts as well have kind of landed that we've had to face into. So the labour market, I don't think has ever been as difficult as it is now. It's ever increasingly more difficult, especially in the logistics sector, following the departure from the EU, to actually get the necessary resources that we need to support our operation. And given how we work and how seasonal sometimes some of our warehouse operations are, we need a degree of flexibility in actually how we manage our staff, and need the flexibility to be able to flex up and down in relatively short windows of time to be able to adapt to our operation. So being able to attract people, retain people, is definitely an ongoing challenge that we have to kind of stay very close to and work on. And yeah, I think just to your point, Simon, as well, the other big one that I guess has hit us is this ever increasing cost base. So we're seeing increases in costs across the board. So everything from rent, rates, labour, and all the kind of costs that we pay to our suppliers is all seeing increases across the board. And it's an essential piece of work for us to focus on and with our clients to make sure that we are putting the best possible pricing model in place to keep costs as low as they can be, but whilst at the same time ensuring that we're covering all of our costs carefully. So lots of different challenges, lots of things that we're having to keep firmly on our agenda. And yeah, it's an ongoing action.
And just picking up on a couple of those points, so you talked about people are moving from just in time to just in case. That, I think, for the listeners is a fundamental impact for you, because that changes or tweaks your model slightly, because you become more storage and less throughput, which then causes problems with space, I assume.
Absolutely. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's a challenge that certainly has come about in the last year or so, especially off the back of the pandemic. And you're absolutely right. What it's done is it's forced us to really look at actually how we manage capacity with our clients. So how we set more careful mins and maxes with our clients around the amount of stock they can have. It's really put emphasis on our ability to forecast accurately and get accurate forecast information from our clients and manage them very carefully on that so that we don't compromise our position on capacity. And yeah, it's driven a real shift really. And I guess a side challenge of all of this is that by becoming more storage orientated, that does have an impact on the amount of revenue we generate. So for us to be profitable, storage is one element that drives revenue into the business, but handling costs and the ability to have a high throughput is a fundamental point for us in terms of how we drive revenue. So working with clients that are trying to achieve a good level of throughput is also important. So that kind of diversity within our client mix and the types of clients we do business with is definitely an important thing for us. So we work very closely with our clients to support them with that. And yeah, it's very much a new dynamic that we're having to stay very close to.
And I assume warehousing space is at a premium. You see, certainly if you drive down the M1, there's that big stretch by, I think it's between Milton Keynes and Bedford, where you've got huge sheds going up. I think there's a bit as well as you go Oxford way. Is it Banbury? There's a whole bunch of them. So I assume, much like, Costa and Starbucks can't find enough space for drive-throughs or the right sites, that warehousing space at the moment's the same?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been a real shift in the demand for logistics warehouses in the UK. In fact, I think the latest statistics say it's almost doubled, really, in terms of growth in the last decade alone. And that area that you described, and that whole golden triangle in particular, has been a real focus point for development, mainly because it gives access to nearly 90% of the UK population within a 4-hour drive. So for businesses these days, especially B2C businesses, having that ability to be able to deliver effectively within short timeframes is becoming more and more important now for e-commerce. And that's something we've definitely seen, and certainly something we're very conscious of, longer term in terms of what our strategy looks like.
And in terms of labour, again, because you're primarily South Coast, aren't you? So a couple of big sites, Southampton way. Does that mean that the market's easier there, or actually is it trickier because it's more transient, it's more seasonal? Is it easier in that golden triangle to recruit, or actually because there's that much competition in there, it almost makes it harder? Are you in a more fortunate position there, or just the same challenges?
It's the same challenge, actually. I think from what we understand from other businesses and from what we're seeing ourselves, I think the challenge is across the board. I think the impacts that we have here are just as bad as they are in the kind of golden triangle area. And labour in general is proving to be very difficult at the moment to manage and maintain and really ultimately to retain people within the business. So it's definitely a nationwide challenge, and certainly it affects us in Southampton. So yeah, it's definitely a big challenge for us.
And then it must now be almost critical to have these kind of short, medium, long-term plans in place that, one, start to unlock some of the growth that you've described in this shift from online versus bricks and mortar. So, this throughput. So I assume part of your role coming into the business is to start to lay down those plans, get the strategic bits in play so that you can maximise that growth opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think with all these kind of factors that are now coming into play that we're having to manage, it absolutely is driving a very clear strategy for us in terms of what we need to do next. So, with the rising cost base in particular, there is a real need really for us to become a lot more efficient and automated in terms of the way we run our warehouses. And that's certainly a sort of medium to longer term strategy for us, is to really look at how we invest in process improvement and automation to support a lot of the processes that we have within our sites. Digital for us definitely is certainly a challenge, and being digitally fit, as we like to refer to it, is certainly a prerequisite for success at the moment. And to be successful now, it's important that you understand, as a business, how we exploit all the different various ranges of technologies that are out there on the market, coupling that with good data analytics and automation to really kind of build a successful solution is now important. We touched on things like the workforce. So, like I said, automation is going to help reshape is going to help reshape the workforce. And, with labour being such a critical element of any logistics operation, there's a lot of focus we now need to put on actually how do we kind of reduce that risk. And certainly automation helps break down this equation, allowing businesses to offer better levels of service and ultimately more efficient from a financial perspective as well. And in other aspects, I guess, strategically that, we're very conscious of is how we as a business can be a little bit more elastic with our ability to kind of cope with high profile events, lots of seasonal variations, changes in market conditions. The last few years in particular, I've seen a high degree of fluctuation. So as a business, the way we're set up, the way processes are managed, the way we like to run ourselves has to have a degree of elasticity in our kind of setup. So being able to have the right structures, being able to have the right equipment in the right place at the right time is really important to kind of supporting that kind of flexible need. And like we said earlier, online growth, definitely a factor for us in terms of how we adapt to that. And that real shift to online is certainly becoming more apparent with our clients. Amazon in particular are very much driving a lot of that shift. So how we work, how we operate, certainly has to have that in mind so that we are future-proofed for that kind of growth in online. And certainly as a business, our position where we're located is definitely an important strategic point for us so that we can continue to be as good as we can be when it comes to meeting the kind of ever-increasing demands on e-commerce and the kind of short lead times that go with that. Labour market, like I say, we're working very hard on our people plans. That's a really important part for us. So a lot of our strategy very much focused around our colleagues, how we attract them, how we retain them. So that's something as a business that we're very passionate around, making sure that our colleagues have good levels of support and training, a good pay scheme as well to kind of support them in the business, with the ultimate goal of trying to retain as much talent as we can. We know is really important to our longer term success strategy.
And within that, you've got, I suppose, the complexities, and I know we've seen things in the news around the whole Brexit piece. So just tell us, I've seen it firsthand in terms of some of the paperwork that needs to go on pallets or cartons now. Just tell us about the kind of what that's added to a typical outbound delivery.
Yeah, there's more work for us from our perspective. There is a bit more work that we need to kind of consider and do from a customs perspective and how we work with the EU. And yes, you're right, it absolutely has kind of had an impact that we've had to adapt to in terms of actually how we manage deliveries going to Europe and how we declare what we send across. And the kind of process associated with it. So it is something we've adapted to. It has added a bit of complexity to a lot of the process that we have, but it's something that we're getting used to. And with future changes in the pipeline, we're hoping it will hopefully become a little bit easier later on for us in terms of being able to do that.
I think lots more grumpy drivers waiting for paperwork, I think, is the output, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's it. And I think this kind of like very much highlights the need to really streamline a lot of the processes that we use to process orders and to get them shipped across into the EU.
Brilliant. That's an amazing overview. And I think you've got some kind of exciting expansion plans that are happening in Europe as well. I don't know if you're allowed to tell us about those yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are looking to expand into Holland, into Roosendaal, and we are just in the process now of getting that piece of work underway. So we're looking to kind of break ground in July with the ambition to get the site ready for around the middle of next year, which is a really exciting venture for us. We've got a lot of clients who have been asking us to have a footprint in Europe for some time now, and we've listened to those requests and started this project a little while ago, which is now coming to fruition. And we're really excited about it because it's going to allow us to give our clients both an offering in the UK and in Europe now to be able to distribute their stock to all of their retailers and online businesses. So definitely an exciting venture, really looking forward to it. The project's progressing really well, which is great for us. And yeah, hopefully middle of next year, we will be looking to go live with a new site in Holland.
Amazing. It'll keep you busy. I'm sure a few trips over there that we'll be looking forward to.
Absolutely.
Good. So, Alex, I really appreciate you coming on. For us, amazing journey. I know we kind of started on a journey of work together, but really enjoyed the visits around the sites and all the things we've seen so far. Team are great, really welcoming. And I know you talked about retention, but from the way I've seen your people interact with each other on the sites, it looks like you've got the kind of backbone of success there, which you don't, in fairness, see everywhere. So that's a credit to you guys in the organisation.
No, I appreciate that.
Final question from me then is, what's the best bit of business advice you've ever been given?
Best bit of business advice? That's a really good question. I think for me, it's certainly always been about having a very good, clear vision by which people can follow you on, and I think that's something I've certainly stuck with, because I think things do change, environments do change, and having a clear vision is a really kind of strong way of helping businesses lead their way through difficult times, or through change, or through growth. And being able to understand what your business is about, where it sits within its market, where it's heading, and how to get there, I think is fundamental to success. So I think always having a clear vision in your mind is really important.
Good. Love that one. Brilliant. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up. Really appreciate you taking the time out to come on, and I'll speak to you soon.
Great. Thank you, Simon.